준비 뭐디 니 겨울라 좋아 정강 길라 좋아라 겨울라 좋아서 겨울라 다보소 봐 겨울시야가 배 가오지나 아니 이 준비 좀 뭐디 사진데 준비 계열이야 아니 톱시 쇼상아 톱시나네 아니 다 메베도 메베도 단데 톱시 도르데르시다 제와셔가들 메베도 계열이다 저가 준비돼 준비 계열 지고로 다 톱스는 규jen도 지고로 규jen 가르스는 규jen 시요를 톱시 되는 당고 메베도 메베도 dilani dorden bade gewashe da dorden bade dosashi da gewashe resmandro kishi
Yeah,
kishi gewashe
oh, okay. Extensive explanation, yeah. Okay. So now we're, verse 40, I think it's page 163 in this book. Or verse 40 in the joyous effort chapter, if everybody's got that.
Is it in com?
Oh, no. What I meant to say was... okay, so we're on verse 40 in the joyous effort chapter. So it's page 163 of this book. So if everybody's got that. So we're talking about joyous effort. Now, joyous effort is defined as delighting in virtuous activities, right? So taking delight in virtue. Now, if one wants to establish this delight in virtue, then the basis for doing this is actually through development of these four powers that we talked about. And we've started to talk, we've done a brief explanation of the power of belief, which through a deep understanding and faith of the law of cause and effect, karma, cause and conditions, then one develops this power to help with the development of joyous effort. So now that we've done the brief explanation, we can do the extensive explanation.
중어 줄스로 근데 된다 가르치고 그래서 놓치기 먼저 류덴디 데레스 가서 개vel에 되고 그래서 류덴디 겨 마르겨나마 게 아니가라서 겨나마 되게 레 겨셔볼 때네 먼저 류덴디 중어 레스티 개vel에 되고 그래서 개vel에 되고 싶다 다 이나야 또 개vel에 되고 이나 류덴디들라 류는 동해와 류는 내나서 연구도 와 보나야 닝나야 용도와 아니 심라 초와 이메디와 심투야 다딩사 싱구동에라는 데 스트레스 다 도즈레 다 심마지고 된데 용도와 아니 된데 아니 야 미드레게 수술로 네버지기도 하셔 수수야고 되는 미드레게 수술로 네버지 겨울로 가셔시 심투 심마지고서 가셔게 뭐서 자리 잡치기도 아니야 미 뭐스 만나 미마이와 동게 된데 심로 미카시 견자들이 이게 전에 매는 심축돼 되거든요. 미만이 그게 되는 거예요. 다든지 아니 지바 동네 나서요야. 심나. 아니 먼저 빈자 카테르와 빈자 카테르. 그냥 하다 있는 빈자 상을 별하고. 그래서 동네 여러 말도 동네 여러. 아니 이제 계획신이들이 카테르야. 아니 롱제 카테르. 이거 제가야 지 사야 동야기 강내도 와서 롱제로 도로야고 말아 강과야고 말아 가시에 내가야고 말아 가시에라 도로 가시에 갈라야고 말아다 된대게 동해도와 동해 어디서 동해도 제가 룰 동해 망고 영야디 룰다스면 동해 망고 영야디 나 미겨워지는 데기 때문에 시간 아주 르덴이 나 개벨레 되고다 미겨벨레 되고 니고요레스 어디서 상담도 당아서 가르치고 그러잖아 아니 개벨셔다 배제치고다 개와 제베이나 되고되어요. 미겨 채나 되고도 내리고 채다나 아주 미겨 파트 개와 제야 로도 듣게 보고요. 레스 어디 까나 데멜레를 삼제서 데라 삼단제 개와로야 두바 개와로 매워 듣게 보고요. 레스 어디시에 와
So when we look at this belief, right, then there's three aspects, and the first one being the understanding of the result of virtue and non-virtuous karma. So, shilaka katsura shikchu, no? Oh, okay. Sorry, my mistake. Verse 41. So, so physical pain, mental unhappiness, and all the various kinds of fear, as well as separation from what is desired, all arise from an unwholesome way of life. So what's basically being stated there is that we're looking at, as it says here, contemplating mixed karmic cause and effect. So in this sense, it's talking about a virtuous propelling karma and then the experience of non-virtuous ripening results. So this would be an example of a human rebirth would be an example of this. We take rebirth as a human based on virtuous karma. But then what we experience as a human being is suffering we experience as a human being comes from the result of non-virtuous karma. So we have a lot of physical, mental sufferings. We have a lot of physical sickness, pain, difficulties like that. You know, we have sicknesses of our body, like some people have heart problems, blood problems. We also have sicknesses of our mind, right? So we have all sorts of stress and worries and concerns, and then these result in various mental dysfunctions. So that's, and as well as that, when then we receive difficulties from others, right? So conflict and fighting with others. So we have conflict with other humans. So we have, you know, difficulties, arguments, and various discursive relationships, right? And then also there's possible to receive harm from non-humans such as spirits, ghosts, demons as well, right? So that's the kind of jigpa, like a fear or a like a worry from external conflict with others, humans and non-humans. Then the next type of suffering we can experience is separation from friends and family. And guess he has this situation himself. His family's in Tibet. He can't see them. It's impossible for him to go there and actually see his family. So he has to experience this separation from friends and family. Other beings, they have difficulties with like wealth and possessions, sometimes in an extreme way, right? Like to the point where they can't get enough food. Basic needs like food and clothing, it's impossible to fulfill, and this is great suffering for these people. So all of these sufferings of body and mind don't just manifest out of nowhere. These actually come down to a result of non-virtuous causes that we created in the past. So through understanding that, then one should get this desire to abandon non-virtue and engage in virtuous activities, right? Because one understands that virtuous activities will result in happiness, right? And non-virtuous activities will result in suffering. So based on that, then one will get this belief and effort towards creating virtuous activities.
Excuse me, and they can't hear. So...
Can you hear me now? No? Nothing? Uh-oh. Yeah, I'll just check. It should be on. Yeah, no, it's working, but it's just not coming through the screen. Let me try this. You guys see me now? No? Nothing? No? Okay, I'm gonna...
You do meditation.
So, you have to practice patience here.
Meditation, breathing meditation.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Yay, sweet.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry about that. So, I'm going to put the recording up on YouTube if you want to listen to the beginning, so whatever you missed. Okay, that's it.
다디 타마 디디올라 니디 직제 니도데 일을 셈베 게체와 판단하는 거죠. 대단히 선남데 대우인지만 만주도 디과체와 되는 판단은 대단히 디과데 동에 천지 넘버 점세 셔가 니도와 이 디자인이 된다도 디자인이 된거 가르잖아. 다 일을 셈베 게체와서 되는데 다 셈이 군대랑 군론 개와 kulon ya bosh mazo tujun mazo shodarish kulon komjagi wa mazo motivation komjagi wa ti kulon di gewa yewe thone yani kulon di gewa yewe thone ani mila phendo chiyare chö chiyare komjare dus je khare chewe gewa jorwa di gewa debu di ani kawai moras na gewa shima ngondo hami ko ma thoya ngondo mi gewa le ya da ani ji dindela gewa di debu o dindele ani ji mixed dindela ngondo koma ne debu mixed de ngores desenjikje ta na gewa da nazo tantishe so gewa da debu gewele debu dewa ngores gewele debu ngores ta gewa da migo se de kanda kuno chen samba kuno chen na ani gewa dia go yungol lo na sinne ngara nga dewa dewa nga dunye me do samba techigo ge tigrebesna ade tig mares di mares manazo tangmalo dunye dewa yo mare dewa dewa yo ine di dewa tanggi mazo dunye yo ya da dunye se ya da gewa yo mares ta ona ni di khareresna ta ko gu gewa chebe dewa ge ani dewa yo tang yumi gewa chebe ge dewa dunye yo de ani ta 그런 게 뒤대가 남셔 되게 상당히 용그림을 지게 먼저 심내야 가 디지고고에 나야 고고에라니 야고야 말았어. 내들라 딱고 겨와 편도체 겨와에 고체 저야 고체베이나 디데고디 겨와는 거래. 아니 디인자 아니 먼저 디디기 레레야다 디보 보야다 겨와 두야라야다 배저시야 상모 레고 요레스 어디시다
Okay, so we've got two verses here, verse 41 and 40, verse 42 and 43. So, however, by committing wholesome actions which are motivated by aspiration in the mind, wherever I go, I shall be presented with tokens of the fruit of that merit. Yet by committing negative actions, although I may wish for happiness, wherever I go, I shall be completely overcome by weapons of pain caused by my wrongful lot. So there's two meanings here. So basically, the first one is that virtuous actions bring positive results, and non-virtuous actions bring suffering results. Now, what determines whether an action is virtuous or non-virtuous? Well, the primary determining factor is our motivation. So we always try, whenever we meditate or do anything, we always try and set our motivations. So what kind of motivations do we consider virtuous? Well, anything to benefit others, anything to practice or help the Dharma. There's various positive motivations, right? I think we know what those are. And these can lead to positive actions done with these positive motivations can lead to positive rebirths, like human rebirths and rebirths as gods and humans, as well as positive ripening results, like good health and so forth, right? But the main determining factor in whether an action is virtuous or non-virtuous is the motivation. But the key point here that's being made is simply wishing to be happy doesn't bring it about. Like all beings want happiness and don't want suffering. However, it doesn't work out that way for everybody. It's all the result of our previous karmas. And if we want happiness, then we need to create virtuous causes to bring that about. And if we want unhappiness, then we go ahead and create non-virtuous karma. But if we don't want unhappiness, we should avoid non-virtuous actions. So you need to understand the point of this is that all our experiences are based on the law of cause and effect, right? simply going around thinking you're awesome isn't going to actually bring you any happiness, right? You actually have to create the causes, right? So it's the point of this is to understanding the law of cause and effect. You can then start to abandon non-virtue and practice virtuous activities, because instead of just thinking about temporary situation, you're actually thinking about the results of your actions.
개화체 명함겹 지기나 아니 먼저 걔네 탁신들을 기그레스 타고 신강을 와 여와와메 신강 들려내 기그레스 탁신 근데 개외이나 아니 가려서는 네 야신부 네 야신부 아니 네도 빼 사자 권한레스는 빼 삼바기고 참아야 돼 아니 네 주마도서 저거면 뭐 주마 상모 빼 주마 신부 아니 매도의 신강도 상마 이디고 아니 네 롱다 아니 데나가 투로다 저저 레자 신주 장보 그러봐 아니 데나가 깨연데 깨단 한데 깨고를 라이언데 상가나 빼매 매도 빼매 나네 깨 우리 주기 잡으러 빼매 깨고 아니 지 칼라든데서 지 된지 카세 수수지 카세 신부를 가르쳐니 줘야다 데데레 거래 아니 너와 신다 매도다 신도도 롱데 자외 롱데 신도 자다 주신게 다든데 문제상 주전만에 최고다고 최고다 거요 아니 수불라야 시지요 수불 dobchen보 수불 시지요 수불 신다요 아니 미세 애니 가서래 겨워와메 아니 겨워와메 최송 아니 데 최송이데 겨워와메 최송제와 안디 다가서 그래 디나야 아니 지금 개와냐냐로 좀 메시지 미개에 상무 개매는 여러분들
네, 근데
개외스면 미개와 심고
오케이.
너희들 개에 맞다. 내가 가도에는 연대장장 통용 거고. 심을 가도에는 개와장장 거였어. 디 가래 대우디 간에 중앙에서는 개와 채웠다. 면람 잡았다. 개와 채 대우기 어디 되게 개와는 거야. 그래서 이 시기에 알아서 단단히 겨워들려있네. 미가시래. 직 사회통 소나미하고 있나? 그러나 사회통에 참아야고 뒤로 갈래가 뒤로 보고도 저야. 직 뒤로 거라 직 열었다. 미 스스로야 직 가시 갈래 주주잖아. 롱주에 전부 잡아야 돼요. 네 갈래에서는 겨워만 스스로게 소남사회기와 아니 미가시라 미베 가오지기도 미가시라 가오지기면도 이 지금 동계 빠빠단 칼게지 세단 년부 지고 말고 지겨 버려 경험에 이 선함이 되우셔야지 어디게 다 누구 타지기 계획을 되어서 먼저
So the next verse 44, talks about the positive results of virtuous karma. So, as a result of virtue, I shall dwell in the spacious, fragrant, and cool heart of a lotus flower. My radiance will be nourished by the food of the conqueror's sweet speech. My glorious form will spring from a lotus unfolded by the Mighty One's light. And as a bodhisattva, I shall abide in the presence of the conquerors. So this is talking about ripening result of being reborn in a pure realm. Shinkam or Shinkam, like merit field or a pure realm. Now this is the result of the combination of not just very positive virtuous karma, but also combined with prayers as well, aspirations. So if you have this virtuous karma and these positive aspirations, then you can actually be reborn in a pure realm. And like apparently it's a pretty cool place. Like it's very beautiful and vast and open. And whenever you abide there, your mind is naturally happy, right? And then you're surrounded by everything smells really good, and your clothes are like very beautiful and smooth, like very comfortable and soft and smooth. The trees, the forest, the surroundings, like all the trees and that are very beautiful. You're born and get to hang out in a lotus all day. And if you ever want to eat anything, it just naturally manifests just by you thinking about that thing, then it automatically appears. And all the sounds you hear, like the trees and the wind, are all the sounds of Dharma. Also, your body is very radiant and beautiful, and you don't have any health problems, and your body's very strong. And you can also receive teachings directly from, like this is in Dewa Chen, for example, you receive the Pure Land of Joy, I think. Amitabha's Pure Land. You can receive teachings directly from Amitabha himself. And because you're surrounded by virtue all the time, your mind naturally is virtuous, and you engage in virtuous activities. So the result of this is very, like, this is basically the ripening role of very strong virtue and a very powerful prayers. However, normal results that we see, like some people, they're very successful in whatever they do. They always make money easily. They have, they're physically good looking. Everything seems to work out very well for them. This, as a human being, is also the result of virtuous activities, like virtuous karma in the past. And, some people are naturally kind of charismatic and charming, and people just like them. And other people, they might have, they're not so easily liked. Again, this is, you can see difference in their activity, sure, but this all boils down to the karma they've created in the past. So if you're liked and you're healthy and all of these things, this is all the result of positive karma created in the past. Okay. Okay, so it's like, don't get too excited because it's not all bunnies and rainbows. We actually have the next we have coming up is the result of the non-virtuous sections, right? So this is verse 45. So, however, as a result of non-virtue, my skin will be ripped off by the henchmen of Yama. In this feeble state, liquid copper melted by tremendous heat will be poured into my body. Pierced by the flaming swords and daggers, my flesh will be cut into 100 pieces, and I shall tumble upon the fiery, blazing iron ground. Whew. So, sorry. This is the result of very heavy non-virtuous karmas, like killing and so forth, or people who engage extensively in the 10 non-virtues, and of course not purifying that karma. So if you create these heavy karmas and you don't purify them, mainly things like killing, etc., then you can be born in the hell. And as it was described here, it's quite hot there. It's pretty hot. So, a little bit warm. So, and like there's no like water. It's actually like molten metal, and your body's constantly getting harmed by the incredible heat and burnt in there. And wherever you go, it's like you're surrounded by these demons and ghosts that are harming you, and the trees are like bladed and they're very sharp, and they cut you. So all of these things here, this is not the result of just like 1 second of non-virtue, right? This is people who engage extensively in a lot of heavy non-virtues like killing and so forth, and don't purify their karma. That can result in you being reborn in the hell realms.
다 죽도. 다디 매변이야. 다시는 랜데. 내 겨워치나 아니 대부 야구 연구요. 내 미겨워치나 대부 동해 연구요. 인자 아무도 랜데 출신의 사무실 겨워라. 다 겨워치고도 세 상관돼요. 겨워치고도 무슨 미겨워치가 해서 다 빼사서 그래서 다 겨워치고도 세 상관이게요. 개오래서 대외 개와 매체신 그건이 공부 차서다 죽도거든. 특이도 하지.
예.
어디 대외 개라면 대외 김전 대나서 대외에서 김전 대나 공대 다 개와 제외나 신강의 기그레 기우시에서 그래서 기우들의 시에서 다 미개와 제외나 야와라 제다 미 나한테 미르된게나 타만디고 자냐 되기도 안 미카시 르르된나 강이잖아 동이 강에 찍듯이 말하는 미카시 동해전이야 연재 대학원이 있어. 제 되게 말래 겨나면 레깅도 채우는데 데이터가 다 미요. 데이터다 당연히 당원에 다 겨워치고도 스템 매워치고 그래서 단다도도 디시에다. 제가 매외도 단다도도 디시에다. 지금이디나.
Okay. So now we've got the first 2 lines of verse 46. Therefore I shall aspire for virtue, and with great respect acquaint myself with it. So this is like a summary of, like a synopsis of the power of belief, or the need to develop this power of belief. So this first bit here, which is dewe and Tibetan, it's translated as therefore. Well, it's literally therefore, but it stresses that for this reason, right? For this reason, I should aspire to virtue, and with great respect acquaint myself with it. So, we need to practice virtue and not non-virtuous activities. And we can see the difficulties we and others encounter as humans. And some people continuously have difficulties, a lot of suffering, problems, health problems, various physical, mental difficulties. This doesn't come about from actions they've created in this life. This comes about from the actions they've created in previous lives. And the same with us. All our difficulties, problems come from actions we've created in our previous lives. So therefore, we need to engage in virtue, right? We need to have this kind of determination for that now I have this precious human rebirth, I'm going to engage in virtuous activities, and that determination, that's the power of belief. It's like that trust in the law of cause and effect generates this power of belief.
레고 따네 좀 봐서 따져야 보시 당부 먼저 레가지 지으러와 개와 지구의 날에 최 지구의 날에 레가 간치구의 날 당부 따져야 보시니 아니 레가 되다 레가 들라 쇼구레신 지고 도시 견진 초가 이 쌈에 맞게 공부하셔 당부들 다 니셰고래 딜이야 레가 되 쌈네 네 레가 되 지기 있다 레가 딘데지 지기 있어 매워지고 내가 내지 지금 있는 때가 따져야 오지 당보로 아니 다치기 님도 시에는 디스레 당보 좋았다는 짬이야나 마산 번데 전자는 당보라야 내가 되게 좋아 고속도 간데 치고도 아니 치즈 네 갈래 간데 자고도 치즈 대부 간데 이것도 되게 따져야 오체 제제 아니 곧 짬지 내가 치고 그랬어 내가 때 짬타나 아니 뮤트제 저거래 탐샤이요 말 슈게 저거래스 어디시 딱 한다 내가 지금 님도로 셔
Okay, so now we have the last part of verse 46 and 47. Now this is going on to the next power, the power of stability. So we finished with the power of belief. And now we get to the second power, the power of stability. So this verse goes... 46. So it starts here. First of all, I should examine well what is to be done to see whether I can pursue it or cannot undertake it. If I am unable, it is best to leave it. But once I have started, I must not withdraw. Oh, sorry, I missed this. That's verse 46 and verse 47. It also has the second part here. Having undertaken in the wholesome manner of Vajradhara, I should then proceed to acquaint myself with self-confidence. So this power of stability is also this self-confidence, right? It can be seen in that way. So the point here is that you should, before you decide to engage in any activity, you should thoroughly investigate it first, right? Check, is it beneficial? Is it valid? Is it something I should do? Right? Don't just kind of rush in there and go, oh, that looks good, and just go, start doing whatever without thoroughly checking it first. So you need to check, and what basis do you want to examine things on? Well, you need to check, what's the result of that action going to be? It's not just sort of, I think it'll be a good idea at the time. What is the result of this action going to be? And if you analyse it and you check, and you decide this is not something that should be engaged in, then don't do it, right? That's perfectly valid. However, if you do decide to engage in it, then it's good to see it through to completion. Right. Oh. Did you guys, he asked you to memorize a verse before? Did we memorize it?
Verse
30, yeah.
Yeah.
Verse 30? I'll read it out.
Oh.
Okay, don't look at the text. Can you remember it?
So having mounted the horse of an awakening mind that dispels all discouragement and misery, weariness.
Who in the nerves is mine?
Who's from shedding joy,
joy,
seen as much
could lapse into
never lapse into despondency.
I think you don't saved us there.
What?
You don't saved us all. The rest of us seemed a bit lost. Oh, and Dylan. My back, bro, nice. So this verse is very good to memorize, right? To understand, because sometimes, we get difficulties when practicing virtue. We get a bit put off and you think, and not really that enthused, right? But if you remember this verse, if you think about it and understand the meaning, then, it can be inspiring for you to go out there and practice virtue and benefit others and do these things. So whenever you're having difficulties, it's good to recall this verse. Oh, okay. Right. So this verse, number 47, first I shall examine well what is to be done, then I decide whether to pursue it or not. They kind of go together with that verse 30, right? So there's a few verses kind of linked together to kind of combine into a meaning. So these two go very well together. They work very well together. So, okay, so it'd be good to memorize this one as well. Verse 47.
Next week,
Okay, so testing next week. It's like being back in the monastery. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's not quite like being mathematical because it's only one verse rather than like 50s. Right. So it's really good to do this, to really thoroughly check before engaging in activity, and then engage in it with commitment, right? Like with power and commitment, because you've checked thoroughly and you have confidence. So maybe it's not necessary for making breakfast or something, but like when you have something that you need to do, that you need to check, it's good to do that. So, okay, then just explaining the second part, which is, if I'm unable, it is best to leave it. Once I've started, I must not withdraw. So we talked about checking out the thoroughly first. And if you check it out and decide not to engage in it, that's fine. right? That's good. But if you do engage in it, it's important to see it through to completion and do it well, right? Because if you give up, then it creates faults, right? Difficulties and problems. So the first thing you get is you get the cause to, in the future and in future lives, to not have your activities not come to completion, right? So whatever you engage in just won't work out. And the second part, you also generate the similar habit. So you'll have the habit in next life to kind of start something and then do it for a while, and then you'll stop and you'll try to do something else, and you'll just float around in that, and you won't actually, this habit will be there not to engage in something properly and not complete it. So, for example, if you're like a carpenter, right? And you'd say, today I'm going to build a house, and then you put the post in the ground, then you think, now I'm going to build a table, and then you're like, okay, you go off and then you start building a table, then you want to build some windows, and you don't actually finish any of your projects, and you end up with like all these projects half completed, and it takes a long time, right? And it's the same. So, for example, if we're cleaning, right, if you start cleaning, so let's say you want to start with the doors, then you clean all the doors and you clean them properly, and then you move on to the windows. And then you might move on to the floor. But if you half clean the doors and then sort of clean the windows a little bit, then clean the floor a little bit, and just kind of then clean the chairs, it actually ends up being the place never gets properly clean, and it doesn't actually work out, right? So we can see this. And not only that, even if you do get something done, it takes a lot longer than it needs to because you're constantly distracted by other activities. So again, to decide whether to start or stop, start something is the first step. But once you start, you shouldn't then stop. Like, maybe you don't. You might stop for a break to sleep or something, but you don't. That means you see the action through. You don't do it for a little bit, then do something else, and then go back and forth like this, right? So, for example, if you want to build a table, right, if you have this kind of attitude where you do a little bit for 20 minutes and then go do something else, it can take you months to finish just a simple project like the table. Whereas if you plan it out well, get the materials, get everything you need, and then engage in it, you can get it done in just 1 or 2 days, right? So this is the point. If you commit to do an activity, plan it out well, and engage in it properly, you can actually accomplish a lot of things, right? And no, that's just on the temporary benefits. So you've got to look at the temporary benefits, like now how you'll accomplish your activities, and also the long-term benefits. And for example, this should definitely be applied to your Dharma practice. So if you think, today, okay, I'm going to meditate on bodhicitta for a bit, and then it's like, now I want to do shine, and then you do that for a bit, and then, okay, I want to do tantra, and then you do that for a bit, and you never actually get anything accomplished, right? So it's much better to do a more simple practice, but do it well, right? So for a lot of us, we're sort of at the beginning, right? I know I am. And so it's good to set like a proper motivation, take refuge well, and do whatever practice you're doing, do it properly and do it well. And that way you generate the habit, right? And you can, if you do it regularly and do it well, then you can develop, right? Your practice will come to show great benefit. However, if you kind of do it for a day, I'm bored with this now, and then you go, and then you quit for a couple of days, go do something else and come back, and if you're wishy-washy like that, you won't generate that habit, you won't get the positive results that you need, and then you lose the kind of joy in the practice, or the excitement in the practice. And so this is the kind of fault that will happen if you bring this attitude into your Dharma practice.
다 녀모배 가제도 지겨야 말이야. 레진 가제다 미배 가제도 먼저 최고고요. 먼저 네 가제도 고고요. 먼저 와. 먼저 내가 네 지기 내가 최고 내가 네 겨워 먹고라 겨워 치도 마서 다른 나 겨워 치기 있으나 아니 겨울에 가제로 차용으로 와. 어디 당고 돌때 뭐지 내단 요mon도 숨보다는 가제 차서 돌때 뭐 겨워셔 지를 만들라. 하고
지우신도
잠내 슈거 때문에 저기 듀티 때문에 수소시어서 이제 레단 요몬 누가 떼서도 겨 어디 그거
okay, sorry.
레단 요몬 누가 떼 숨보다는 가제 차서 레지 레징하게 누왕하게 녀모하게 숨보딜라야 아니 마제 쳐오레스 죽도 쳐오레스 레징하게 당 누뱅하게 딩 아주 쳐오고요레스 녀모하게 지겨야 말레스 다디 쳐고 레징하게 당 누뱅하게 가서는 레가게 다레 차와이는 마 지기 심지 신기 되는 게 지기 좋아 겨워 먹으면 쳐 지토마서 다른 쳐 지기 있는 가게 쳐고 아니 녀모 나게디 지겨야 말해. 그 콘들레 나게와 지기 란지지 갑탄제다 디중 하나서 나게요라. 디 지겨야 말해. 디게스 마게어서 그래. 녀모 나게디 지겨야 말해. 레지 나게 쳐고라. 아니 되네 뉴베 나게 쳐고랬다. 누가 다디 녀모데 되거나 데라 뭐네 자주그sem 고바이나 나데 란지지 메와샤. 아니 콜 누가 첨부도 마음과 산제 고마토도 내가 말하는 란심교, 신심교, 상물의 편도도 누가든데도 팅의 지gin이 있어요. 어디 가게디 지구고요. 그래서 더더더잖아. 레징하게다 누명하지니 공부 지구고요래. 녀몽하게 지교요 말해서 어디 시고. 띠내가 자고, 띠내가 지고.
Okay. So now we have the three types of nagya, which is pride, but actually it can be translated to mean self-belief as well, right? So it's the power of this self-belief. And then there's a brief explanation, extensive explanation. So the brief explanation is the first part of verse 49, which is action, affliction, and ability, practice, pride, regard these three. This other translation you guys are using. Self-confidence should be applied to wholesome actions, the overcoming of disturbing concepts. Okay, so we have in this brief explanation the three types of this pride or self-belief. So we have the pride in action or activity, the pride of power, and the deluded pride. So these first two we want to cultivate. We want to cultivate the pride of action, or the self-confidence as action, and the self-confidence of power. And we don't want the pride, the deluded pride, right? So just to briefly explain, then this power, the pride of action, or the self-confidence of action, is this thinking that I will do it, I will engage in this, I will do it, not leaving it for somebody else to do, or thinking, if I just leave it long enough, somebody else will come along and sort it out. To actually think it's my responsibility and engage in it, right? Not wait for other people to do it, right? And then the second one is the pride of power. Now this is a real this is much more the self-confidence side. This is like if you engage, for example, in bodhicitta, then your practice has real power, right? You really engage in it with this kind of confidence that you can accomplish it, and you practice well, and you do things properly, and because of it, then you get results. So you actually have this confidence in your ability to accomplish activities. And then the third one is this deluded pride, and it's called deluded because it's mixed with delusions, right? So this kind of pride is mixed with self-cherishing, it's mixed with the delusions, and this is the one that is actually harmful and that we don't want to, that we want to abandon and not cultivate.
아니 레징아 지금 원성하더라 그래 단위 지구 차워시 단위 레징아 예 있어도 다 차워 가려요 여기나 예 지금 있어요 샘제신 제도 예 산지 고마토와 지금 샘제신이 된다데 아 지구 지금 말하는 게 지금 있어요 뒤 여기나 아니 내가 가리는 좀 되어야겠다. 하나 찍고 로드비로 소소 로드비야 아제제 봐. 내가 가지고 지금 있어. 당연히서 지 장주쌤나도 파시한 거라서 배나데 커뮤니티 매 기증나라데 탈레트야만 오요이나 내가 요이나 기증나라다 내가 저야 요마로 사서 내가 망보던데 유디 아니 하나 찍고 지금 하나 찍고 지금 슬람 제대비나 아니 딜라 디쇼죠 가서 그래 팬도배만 거예요 가르쳐서는 찍내 수수쌤라야 전화리 내가 지금 콘솔랑에 예수 시작해 콘솔 콘솔 깔래카고 샤슈게 투기 있으라면 찍대 니네 아 다디 콘솔 두 그래 콘솔 내가 찍으래 나 제고 말라나 콘솔 말도 뭐 아니 간단지라 아니 왜 아데 저만 보자 내가 친구 찍을 저야로 맞아 근데요 세상 수수 당랑게 내가 수수 제시하면 미신다 가고요 아주 내가 배우고 내가 로봇 최고예요 나 그래 미신다 쥐듯이 아니 그런 거 지금이나 tingro 아니 미드들 내가 가고 지금 수수 제아 저도 대신 내가 된 예체하고 말은 예체하고 무슨 상관을 하고 미상과 가고 가는 거 같이 가고 다들 지난 내가 그 내가 저는 책들 누워 전부 와 단위 지구 자와시 되는 레징아 있어 레들로 내 책이 있어 네 야고 되고 그래서
Okay, so now we get to the second part of verse 49, which is thinking I alone shall do it is the self-confidence of action. So this self-confidence of action is literally that, thinking I will accomplish it, right? Now this can be extended right up to like bodhisattvas who think I alone will I will attain enlightenment for the benefit of sentient beings, even if I have to accomplish the benefit of all sentient beings alone, right? So this is incredibly powerful, this kind of attitude, because whatever work you set out to do, whatever activities you set out to do, you will accomplish it if you have this self-confidence, right? But putting aside like bodhisattvas for now, right? Even if we take a more simple example, like just something simple like washing dishes, if you sort of think, oh, I'll do it, and you just get in there and wash the dishes, like sometimes after like Sunday lunch here, we have like quite a lot of dishes, right? But if somebody just gets in there and starts doing it, then, you know, it gets done quite relatively quickly, right? And it's this attitude, having this attitude of just taking on the responsibility of doing it yourself, brings about, not, you know, even outside of Dharma, just in ordinary work, brings about a sort of a self-confidence, right? And this ability, this confidence in yourself to think that I can accomplish this, I can do it. Whereas if you have the other kind of idea, you know, where it's like, oh, you know, I don't want to do it, and maybe you can do it, and then, you know, you can debate for about 2 hours about who's going to do it for a 5-minute job, right? So this kind of, you know, you can just end up talking about things, and this happens. If anybody's worked in an office, this actually happens. So you spend a lot of time talking about things, but nothing actually gets done, right? And if people see you just getting in there and doing it, right, then, you know, they actually appreciate that. And not only that, then they'll come and they'll help, and then many people will make light work. And then you might have the opposite argument where somebody says, I'll do it, and no, I'll do it, and you're kind of fighting over who's going to do it. But that kind of thing, that's more beneficial.
다들 대다 제거에 균제시 봐. 레딩 맞고 제거를 했어요. 나 가시 다들 점면 저래. 다들 점면 들어. 다들 싫어 구거래. 아 구거 말해. 제거를 균제 가래라위는 균제 가래라위는 심지신지 자월하면 되고 랑도 자월했어. 계시디 균제 가도도셰위는 아니 빼샤시는 뇨모 아메지 데디 란도도가 미네베스로 로야다다 미네데 대 다게 디오시다. 만나서 뇨몽게 시원의 지데 지딩 내가 될라 내 되면 내가 봐. 먼저 랑게 된 루트가 말했어. 랑게 된 루마드나 셴드 루트가 말았어. 와. 미 수수 된다. 수수 칼라야고 소마신의 미신달라 칼라야고 선때도 말았어. 와 수수 미신달 칼라시 뭐뭐시 뭐지 스텔라 수수 뭐뭐시 뭐 소신으로. 아니 예전에 뭐뭐시 뭐 때라네. 수수 소마신하나 아니 팬도 말아. 자도 이 직감보지로 오더라고. 아무 수수 소신으로. 수수 제월이고. 아, 다팅에 제월다. 아니 얘 제월 가서나 내가 대변에 디시와시로지는 얘를 당길라지. ये छे छावे ना काम चोंगा निशु थारो रे आदा शेंग छिरे शेंदे माचे ने ट्रिजि वसे मांबो पो शोबे ते पो निंगु ते पो कोंदा ते पो सानी ते पो 아니 간사질라 탈이 저제 아니 상마 배봉 아니 미상마 기징디나 도녀마 뭐 수수도녀마 도차 내가디 라완라 미신질라 뛰고이나 다 거기 거이나 모이나데 딜 보지 되어라 미신다지 그거 되어 내가 제 최지에나 마 미지나 딩님도라 검점나 기부도라나 다 미디 마용사와 아니 수수 최지에 검지 쇼도 알아서 미가제 디르디나라고 디유나 미디유나 나용기 미디 마이나 나용기 구바 수수 그거 용거래 봐 수수 그거 가디유나 저거라면 코뭐 유나 나용기 코뭐 마이나 나용기 아니 제메 시두님도 시그래 시두님도 시그 말아 와께도님도 께 말아 가가 시도라
라
시두님도 시도 보면
시칼라가
뭐 시두 가가 시그도 시도라 데드
right there through
different no
okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
다 디케 마무차에서 다 간다 디셰 신을 뜨나 아니 수수 나와나도 다 라는 제위나 수수 나와요.
Okay. So, there's reasoning behind this. It's not just, we're not just saying this to get you guys to do all the work so we can just chill out, right? There's actually logical reasons behind this. And the example is in verse 50 here, where it says, powerless, their minds disturbed, people in this world are unable to benefit themselves. Therefore I shall do it for them, since, unlike me, these beings are incapable, right? But what's the example's trying to establish here is that if you can't get your own stuff sorted out, how are you ever going to benefit others, right? It's not possible. And the example is, if you want to cook food for somebody else, you've got to know how to cook food for yourself. So I guess the typical Tibetan example is momo. So if you want to make a massive pile of delicious momos for somebody, you first got to learn how to make momos yourself. You can't; they're not just magically going to appear, right? You have to learn to make it. And this kind of attitude is this accomplishing things on your own under your own steam, right? So and again, we can take the example of the dishes. If everybody kind of just gets in and does the dishes, then in 20, 30 minutes, everything's done and the kitchen's all clean. But if you just kind of put it off and leave it and they all pile up, then just within a few days it's going to look like some student flat and nobody's going to want to go in the kitchen at all, right? It's going to be like a complete mess, right? So this type of thinking, again, of course, extends to our Dharma practice, right? Like if you sort of have this attitude, if somebody else is doing something, then I'll go and help, right? But you don't actually take the initiative yourself. Then this is not beneficial. And in Dharma terms, you think, if somebody else is meditating, I'll go meditate, right? Or if he goes to teachings, I'll go with him. Or if she goes, I'll go with her, right? If you have this attitude rather than having your own power, being self-empowered, you can't sort of go, if she goes, I'll go, or if he goes, I'll go. And then it's like, you can't say, well, if he dies, then I'll die at that time too. It doesn't actually work like that, right? So you can't determine when you're going to die. So you need to take responsibility for your own activities.
진지 멤버랑 쿨지랑 아제 차오. 다 도수 빼야고도 하지. 도수 땅 하나서 처음 먹으나 배제도 알아. 도수 배제 전부. 다 디쇼시 등에 몽골라가 가서는 나를 냠녀야 됐어. 에 투네에 give you lots of 디쇼시. I had experience at a monastery we have student 32 some student. We have trained two days, two months, And some monk, just live there, everything is live there, no washing, And then we understand who is lazy, who is not lazy. This is clear understand there, we have this teacher house in any case, most students live outside. We come out to night, we cook, everything is made clean, killing with tardy, kitchen with tardy. And tomorrow, mess black put Where's the camera? I can't believe it. I keep complaining 2-3 times. The teacher said, no, just you do it. No need to complain other people. You can't change other people's behavior. Just you do what you want. He said, this is good error. I don't like this pushing too many Some people have bad habit. Live there. Who is you? You have some attendant? If you have attendant, live there, attendant come for you do things. You don't get time, usually the bonus is the most watched. And sometimes. Oh, the day that's it. And I lost our independence to need some reading, some other people what they lost the independence. That in somebody they are young, somebody go Shinji maybe la young could be my get. Shenda maybe legend, Tani can chitabu. My day chini immediately, that young maybe shows. Shingalaso, any lay member today, you know. To you, Maranzo Kachirosna, lay Dugati, Milichijova, lay Yaga the Suzichiro, Lega Yaga, lay how, Gale how, Pesha Manguyo, this is a check, Lega Gale Kag, Pesha Union, Milichijura, teaching you mothers. Lay Gale Kag the Suzichivos. And then how about me, any Lega Mauche, Suzy Lega Yoshi, and I get you, my Lega Yawichi, Colega Yawo, more Lega Yawichi, I get you, I get you enough. And it in your motion to my deal, missing my deal. And a Peugeot Lega Mawina, Dilia, teacher was Castle, Collier, encouraged our Chiada. And it tuna, Lega member, the Susuche, Lega Yaga, the military was. Tatante, Chizon and meet the Ramanta. 21st century Yoman. Chance Yomanta.
Okay, so this is verse 51, where it says, practicing the pride that also carries the burden of inferior actions of others. Yeah. So this example talks about, okay, you might engage in work, but you give the work, the inferior work or the bad work to others, and you try and engage in the good work yourself, right? So, like here it uses the example of like, sort of working in the fields, I guess in Tibet or India at that time, because it was in India, that this was seen as a very low type of work. So whether it's low now, it might be based on the fact that it's difficult or it's dirty or it might not have much money or all of these things, right? But for whatever reason, if you try and fob the bad work off onto others and take all the good work yourself, this is the kind of pride that is to be abandoned, this deluded pride, right? Because then you kind of, he's very proud and I do all this cool stuff and I have all these lackeys doing all the work that's not good, right? And that becomes problematic for your mind, right? So it should be the other way. You should encourage others through action, right? So you should engage in the work, like the difficult work and the hard work, and leave give the easier or the better jobs to others. Geshe says in the 21st century, there's not much chance of this happening, right? Everybody's attitude seems to be the opposite.
Okay, so Miller Tunjunchi, so the Lega Yawi, Contra Lega Yawo Maris, Ma Tunjunchi as the teach you Maris water. Did you ever attend the things that purpose like Shuchamucha? Did it come in the name of Najegi? The Lega wishing it is the larger Yawi, is the Lega Yawi, don't touch it, Miller show object, and Lega woman, larger woman, and to mayor. Did Tanda the Chizon and the purpose in Sigdo, Chizor, new shoe, Chizor, 요새 상은 주진들에서 아직 뭐랬어.
So you shouldn't also look down on others. You shouldn't think, the work I do is very good, and the work other people do, it's not so good or not so important, right? Yes, these days, however, we face a lot of peer pressure. There's a lot of pressure to kind of earn good money, have a good job, have a good, have this, and you kind of take pride in this and sort of show off if you've kind of got, like a cool, good situation and other people don't. in the long run, this actually leads to a lot of suffering, right? And this kind of attitude causes your pride to develop and strengthen, which, creates tremendous difficulties.
근데 만화도 누조나라 야고도디 누조 내가 여시라면도 항상 샤저 야가는 보여도 개미는 그래서 내가 퇴면이 튼tun지들이 심체래 내가 야가들 정말 내가 야가로 된 내국난 내가 다오다 근데 매 내가 저거도 들어가지 한국에서 서로 한국 여러 학생 주도 팔레스타인이 아니 이제 상주 중에 또 내가 누구지 이여대 친구 누조라 되면도 안 누조라 배 내가 정말 찍고로 디 배하고 누조라 로전시야 뒤서 배하고 이런 용어도 내가 마오 마네야 돼 누조라 용어 자체는 잡라다 도가 그러나 내가 야가 되세 지기도 하고 이내 뭐세디 지금가서 자가다 자나다 표다 뒤서 제비나 누조디 시다 야가도 내가
So, yes, he says that situation's not relevant in the West, right? He says that the conditions actually quite good here in terms of, people aren't judged so much by what work they do. But in places like India and Tibet, then, it varies. The work varies so much. Like everybody wants to work in an office or have a good job like that. And then, the people who are like on the streets cleaning shoes or cleaning up, these jobs are seen as very low, right? So, and there's kind of much more of a judgment, I guess, depending on whatever work you actually do. Here, it's not so much there. I mean, behind what you might think in your mind might be like, I got the coolest job on earth. But actually, on an external level, people aren't judged as much by the work that they do, right? Like, it's not, if somebody's does a certain job, it's not like you won't associate with them, generally speaking, right? So I guess that's very positive over here, that it's not like that.
어디지 다 대나네 다 먼저 뒤주 랍자 스스 니먼 랍자 망고 라송아 오늘 먼저 당연한 좀 먼저 최저를 되어요 봐. 안 최저도 내가 근데 도나 스스 제정되고 내가 근데 도나 컨트롤 게제티 데리다다 뭐 내가 스토응에 제거로 이 자타야 근데 도에 아니 계좌 워퍼 망고 열들 주소 자신으로 와 먼저 대 주소도 짱마냐고 해도 계좌물 띵선 주소를 미망불리기도 와 미도 주소 배 끼고도 사실 짱마도 라나 그냥 손남사 그래 겨사 그래 그냥 안 하서 다디 진도나 연예도 저기 아니 누다를 나라 주소 니즈 주소 용제도 와 가와 쪼고 가와도 그저지 어디에 정말 쓰가 이게 내가 등에 제가 쓰가 그거지 제작이나 디야고요라고 이 나는 진짜 영향 지고 면 지난 만세 용거 진짜 영향 추저는 내가 떼떼죠 이제 제거이나 추저다 디 추저디 말할 추저디 삼단이 오차고 아주 미래에 두다를 나라 추저니 지니제 추저나 용 내가 지기나 추저 내가 컨트롤을 빼 내라고 여러 나도 내 미팅이 숨지게 내가 너무 지고로 와. 내가 실로 이제 다른 된다데 나 사든데 지 주주 징이지 내가 예배 스케줄이 주주니 주주 숨 내가 저기나. 배만 못 하고 왔잖아. 예, 그래서 한 배제 준죽 세가 준죽 롭전 지기. 매 액션 님도 지기나 아니 지기 따다로. 아니 준죽디 안절로 퇴제 액션맨 아니 가고 차도라고 그래서 안서 두세 지난때 그냥 뭐 투주 당고요 주도 또 이내 단도 당고도 단도 치고 그랬어.
Okay. So, in these teachings in the last weeks, we've, given out a lot of advices, right? Or there's a lot of advices in this text. But you've actually got to put it into practical application. And if you look at this Dharma Center or Dharma Centers, there's a lot of work that actually needs to be done to maintain it and to keep it running well and looking beautiful, right? So as much as people can help out, that's really good, right? And if you ever want something to do, you can ask our Venerable Director here. I'm sure she'll hook you up with some stuff to do. But to think about it, if you help out with the Dharma Center, if you help keeping it beautiful, keeping it clean, making it nice, and then people arrive, and they can't, if they come to a Dharma Center and it's a beautiful place and it's clean, then they greatly enjoy it, and you also, it helps them and it benefits you because you create a lot of merit. So if you can help out in any way with cleaning or whatever, then that's really a wonderful thing to do. And it's also, if you're like a student at this Dharma Center, in a way you should have some kind of like a pride in the center, right? Like it's your center, and to look into keeping it well maintained and putting effort in, right? And if a lot of people help out for just a couple of hours here and there, then a lot can get done, right? But if it's just one or two people have to do all the work, then it's a lot of work for those people, right? And so we've got volunteers here helping out, but as much as other people can help out, that's of great benefit, right? And it's texts like this are not. They're not, if you want to study the Bodhisattva Charyavatara, I mean, if it's just an intellectual exercise, then you're not getting the benefit from it. What you should do is you should, put these into action. If you just come here and listen and then go, oh, that's nice, and then go off and your actions are the opposite of what's put down in the text, then you're not getting the benefit from it. So as much as you're able to help out, then that's really beneficial for yourself and others.
That is,
Okay, so we'll stop here.
Page 31.